All right, I'm going to talk about a book that I had to read in 6th grade. The book is called The Watsons Go to Birmingham, and it was written in the time period of the 1960s by Christopher Lee Curtis. It's a historical fiction. I just looked it up last night. It was recently turned into a play, and it's kind of like A Raisin in the Sun, because both of those stories have to deal with an African-American family. Both of those stories have to deal with that family moving from one place to another. And they're both having to deal with the systemic racism and the segregation that we've faced in the past. And the difference, though, is that family is structured a little differently. There's 3 kids in the Watson family. I don't know, there's one girl, but I don't know the girl's name. The boys are Kenny and Byron is older than Kenny, and the story is being told through Kenny's perspective. And the family is making a journey to Birmingham, Alabama. They live in Detroit, and they're traveling to Birmingham, Alabama in 1963. And it's not like Raisin in the Sun where they're going to move there. They're just going to travel there to see their grandmother and then drop Byron off for I don't know, a year and a half or 2 years, just so that Byron can learn some discipline and some structure in his life so that, he stops breaking rules. And it took me a while to read that book within the span of, I think, 2 months. And it wasn't a book that was issued out in class. It was issued in a support group that I was in during the 6th grade, which was at the stage of my life where I was still trying to figure out how to read. And frankly, I wasn't doing well in school yet. They still wanted me to pass. So, yeah. They weren't willing to give up on me. But the long story short is I kind of made up a connection to that book and to that family, even though that story really has nothing to do with my circumstances and my time. But it was an important story to read, and it was very fruitful for me. But at the end of the day, my instructor, the teacher, I would say, she was willing to play the long game. She was willing to wait however long it took for us to read that book and for us to understand it and for us to talk about it. And we did most of the reading in class, but then we did some reading at home, and then I discussed more. So there should be a better way. All of this is basically to say that there should be a better way to have teachers create and facilitate a support group for a book that they are reading. I'm not saying pull the students out of class and talk about a book. I'm just thinking that there's something that can develop an emotional sense towards a story that they're reading rather than just logically, writing a book report. I think I see it in college more where you have to read at home and then come in to discuss things that you were not unsure about or things that you'd like to get off your chest. And I think what's so great about theater is that they facilitate so much of that because it's the first step in the design work. You read the play, and then you discuss how it feels, and then you read it again, and you read it again, and you read it again, and so forth. But if you just read something once, and then, talk about how it makes you feel, it's worth it. And even, I was forced to like that story, but I didn't care either way. I was willing to, put up with it for a while and then talk about it.